Hello, and welcome to Tuesday Talks with Mom. I'm Tara Myers, and I am so glad you're here. As part of Moms on a Mission, we're empowering moms across the country to stand up and advocate for their children's educational freedom. As a mom of an adult son with Down syndrome, I've walked this road, navigating the school system and fighting for the right to choose the best education for my child. And now I'm here to share that journey with you. Every 2 weeks, we'll sit down with different moms from around the country and provide thoughtful advice and share our experiences. Together, we're building a community of moms who are finding their voices, taking action, and making a difference. Welcome to Tuesday Talks with Mom. Good evening, everyone, and thank you so much for joining us for another episode of Tuesday Talks with Mom. And I couldn't be more excited about being here this evening because I have my new friend, Katie.Wilford, with me, who has joined us from the Baker County Christian Co-op to talk about all things school choice. Welcome, Katie.
Thank you, Tara, for having me.
Well, this is such an exciting thing. I met Katie 2 years ago out in San Diego, beautiful, sunny San Diego, California. And, I felt like the odd girl out because she and her husband and some other moms from her co op were out there together. We were all on a mission, and I didn't have my husband with me. And I'm going to tell you what, I had a fabulous time getting to know these moms. And this year, it just so happened that we happened to meet out there again this year. And my husband went along. And I'm going to tell you what, he is already planning his trip to come down to Florida to spend some time with the guys.
Okay,
So
we're ready. Bring
I
them
love
on.
it. I love it. Well, if the holidays weren't so quickly upon us, we would have made that trip already. So we're going to have to try to work that in. But
Let's
Katie,
do it.
okay, well, let's do it. I'm so glad. I'm so glad to have you here. Your story is just, it's just mirrors very similar to some things that I've walked through and what I've seen some other parents walk through. You just kind of get a bee in your bonnet about things and you decide that you have to take matters into your own hands. And
Mhm.
so I'd like to give you a minute to just tell a little bit about how the Baker County Christian Co-op started and just a little bit about yourself and your family.
Okay. So I'm Katie Wilford. I am married to Adam, and we have 3 children. Our oldest daughter was going into kindergarten, and we live in a very small rural town in Florida, and public school was the only option. And she had been in a private pre-K program, and she was the teacher at night, and we would always play teacher, and she would always want to pray with us before she would start her lesson. And as a Christian, it was just burdened. I told my husband, I said, I don't want her to lose that. I want her to always think, her faith and her education goes hand in hand. I think it can be so much more powerful together. And so I felt like the Lord had really laid it on my heart to do something different for her. She was getting ready to go into kindergarten. I had 2 best friends who are also public school teachers with me, and they felt the same calling. And God aligned everything perfectly for us. And we started the Baker County Christian Co-op in 2017. And we started with 45 students in year 1. My daughter was in kindergarten. And now we are in year 9, and we have 285 students, and we have a wait list of over 500. The Lord has just poured out his blessings on us immensely. We went from one small little schoolhouse with 45 students to now we have 3 buildings on our campus and are in the process of expanding again. He has just been so good to us. We really, in the beginning, I remember that piece of fear, like, do other parents want this? Is this just us? And God has proven time and time again, this is needed. And I hear from parents all the time. Even last week, I had a mom, and she just said, I cannot tell you the difference this has made in my family. I had a dad a couple of days later, and he said, I am all in. He said, whatever I can do. He said, even if I need to get the co-op's logo tattooed on my arm, you just hear it everywhere you go. And it's just something that we are so proud of. And we always want to give all the glory and all the honor to the Lord because he has just moved mountains for us, and we're so thankful. but
Well,
we're so
I
happy.
love
And
it. I love it. Now, I want to unpack a little bit about that, Katie,
okay.
because when I ran into the same type of thing where it's like, okay, I have to start something different.
Mhm.
It did not sound to me like you had this big business plan laid out. Like you had been planning this. It didn't sound, and I know some of your story, but let's unpack it a little bit for our viewers.
Okay.
You were a teacher in a public school system, correct?
Mm-hmm.
Hmm.
I will never forget. We were trying to find somewhere to house the co-op, and the first two places we looked at just did not work out. And I remember telling the Lord, like, this is truly what you want, Lord. You're going to have to bring the place to us because I'm just a public school teacher. I am just one little teacher. How do I start my own school? How do I start my own business? The three of us were honestly clueless, but God just put the right people in our path. We had business owners come alongside with us. Our community honestly rallied around us and provided the place, provided, the students, anything we needed. Even the little house where we started, and we call it a little schoolhouse. But a lady from our community came to us and she said, "Hey, I own an AC business. Do you mind if I just look around and check it out?" She was like, "This isn't going to work." She provided a brand new AC unit. We had no idea. Just everywhere we went, we were blessed. And it really was our community that rallied around us to really help us get our start.
So was it a difficult decision to walk away from your public school position?
Absolutely. It's probably one of the hardest decisions I've made in my life. My mom was a public school teacher for 30 years. We have a great public school system here. It was nothing against our public school system. It was just that I felt a call on my life from the Lord that I knew I had to answer. And Tara and Amy, our other two owners, were the same. And we still have a great connection. Our kids are considered homeschool. So they still go into our district and participate in sports and activities. And we're so thankful. This was just the best way we felt like to educate our children. Florida is so big on school choice, and we're so thankful. And as parents should have the choice. It is a parent's right to choose how to educate their children, and we feel like this is what's best for our children.
So isn't that amazing? I mean, it wasn't an us against them decision. It was
Right.
a both and. In other words,
Absolutely.
we're teachers, but we need to do something different because we're mothers.
That's
And
right.
moms oftentimes are called
Mm-hmm.
on a mission for their children. And so I think
Absolutely.
that it's a wonderful, wonderful opportunity to share with parents like you, like me, parents out there that are saying, I feel this calling. And Katie, I love the fact that you listened to it right away when your daughter was in kindergarten. I avoided listening. I wasn't obedient in that. I listened too much to the experts, so to say. Took me
Mhm.
4 years to finally say, okay, I hear this voice is still whispering in my ear. I think I better listen because things are not going well. And so I always encourage parents. I say, I get your fears. I get
Mhm.
your concerns. Those little voices saying that you don't know your child best, but you really do,
That's right.
because I was that parent. I was that parent that just kept waiting and waiting. And when I listened, all doors started opening, just like what you described. And
Yeah.
so I think that's a huge encouragement. Now you mentioned Florida and school choice, and you guys have worn that crown of the leaders in school
We're
choice.
so
And
blessed.
yes, and interestingly enough, I think I've shared this with you. Two of my children were born in Florida, and
Mhm.
I moved to a state that didn't have any choice. And I think that was God's calling on my life as well,
That's
going, hey, you're going to have to. I brought you here for a purpose.
that's
So
right.
tell me a little bit about the families that go and use your co-op.
Mhm.
Tell me about how school choice affects that. They get to take advantage of that, correct?
Absolutely. So, 99% of our children are on a school choice scholarship, or an ESA, an education and savings account. And the majority are through a PEP program, a personalized education plan through Step Up for Students. Some are on unique abilities, but we're so blessed. Our governor in March of 2024 opened up school choice across the state of Florida, and it has just opened the floodgates. Our wait list is over 500 students. I wish we could take them all, but we are so blessed to be in Florida with such an amazing governor who fights for school choice.
Now, I'm glad that you mentioned governor.
Mhm.
because I think it's really important to realize that it's important for us to all work together. And,
Absolutely.
we have a federal tax credit scholarship coming up.
Mhm.
And I think it's important for us as parents to keep our eyes on that, to watch and
Mhm.
see how that can affect us. And also to have buy in from everybody, from the parents all the way up to who's running the state, to individuals that are running schools, and just really keeping the doors of opportunity open for all children in
Mhm.
our states, and in our nation. And
That's right.
so that's one of the reasons why I wanted to talk to you, because I know that other states are having really unbelievable, unique opportunities,
Mhm.
doors of opportunity for choice opening up for them.
Mhm.
And I talked to a mother last week in another state, and she's like, but there's just not enough options. And I said, you know what? I know a mom who I had to do that myself here in the state of Ohio. And I know a mom in Florida who had to do that. And she didn't just choose to do it for herself,
Mhm.
like me. She also went out and said, I'm going to invite others to join me.
Mhm.
So, what would you say to moms in other states who are now, embarking upon the school choice journey because they
Mhm.
now have options? What would you say to them if they felt the call to either start a co-op like yours, or start a
Mhm.
micro school, or
Mhm.
get involved? What would you encourage them with?
I would say jump all in. I have no regrets. It has honestly been one of the biggest blessings for my family, my children, my husband, and I talk all the time, what a difference it has made in our lives. I cannot imagine, if they weren't here. I love for my kids to come home and tell me they learned in Bible, and, they have the sweetest little stories. And I'm so thankful I have a firsthand seat to witness it every day. I'm here with my children every day. As a mama, we can all be mama bears. And I would say, put your big girl panties on and be a mama bear and jump right in, because it's something you'll never regret. Fighting for your children. I think it's just within a mom, and it's worth it. The fight is not easy. There are still things that come up all of the time, that we're having to work through, and three of us, have to deal with. But I've never regretted it. And as a mom, you never will. Doing what's best for your child. I feel like every mom, that's all they want.
That's right. We want the very best for our
Mhm.
children.
That's what I
And I love the fact that you mentioned that it's not all cupcakes and roses.
Mhm.
That there are in everything that we do in life that's worthwhile. Don't you find that to be the case?
Absolutely.
I mean, as moms, we run into all kinds of challenges, whether it be pickup lines or sporting events or schedules.
Forgot lunch
Or
boxes, practice clothes.
That's right. There's always something. So if we're gonna take the time to do anything, delving into what's best for our children is really, I mean, what a reward, right? I mean,
Amen.
as moms, that's our calling.
That's right.
So, are there any major challenges or any major pitfalls that you want to kind of, any tidbit of advice that you think, gosh, this could be really helpful for you getting started? Or, like I always tell parents, I'm like, keep a running document of
Mhm.
everything. Keep a
Mhm.
running list of who you've talked to and who you've met along the way. Is there anything that you say, when we got started, I wish I would have known this?
Um, I think honestly, the community involvement. There are so many others, and I do think in the beginning, like I said, you have that fear. Like, is this just something I want? Are there other moms out there? I mean, we saw an overwhelming response. I mean, still to this day, we have an overwhelming response. Don't let fear, hold you back. There's other people that want this just as much as you do, and don't ever, give into that fear.
I love it. I love it. And I love how you shared how somebody came in who had a business and
Hmm.
recognized your need and wanted to bless you with that. I
Absolutely.
think sometimes we underestimate, education is so important. It truly is the doorway to opportunity for all things
Mhm.
in life. And we underestimate how much other people, even who don't may not have children, or who have children and never thought it possible that they could actually jump up and take part in
Mhm.
educating children, but they may have an air conditioning business that
Mhm.
can come and make sure that there's,
Mhm.
who would have thought? Or maybe they're good at zoning, or maybe they have transportation access.
Mhm.
So I love that you shared that, because it opens the mind to think there are possibilities. Um,
Absolutely.
there are ways that we can collaborate,
Mm,
one to another.
absolutely.
Um, have you seen the parents that are on the waiting list? Have you seen where there's are possibilities? I know you guys have expanded immensely in the
Mhm,
last, I mean, just from last year to this year, your expansion has been unbelievable. Do
mhm.
you have any future plans at this point? Because you've already added two additional buildings.
We have. And we have plans now to break ground on another building soon within the next year. We've actually been able to buy some neighboring property that we are so excited about. We have prayed for years and years. And so we've been able to purchase some property and we're going to be able to expand in the future. And we are so excited. So we can hopefully move some of those kids off the wait list and onto our enrollment. So we're really, really excited about that.
Okay. Now, how is your teacher to student ratio? How does that work? Can you tell me a little bit about that?
So our average is 20 students to a teacher. And honestly, we tried to stay around 18, but it goes back to that wait list. And so then when you are bringing kids in, the heartbreaking part is if you can bring a student in, but then a sibling can't come. So
Yeah.
that's been one thing we've always looked at when we're taking on new students. We want the whole family,
Yes.
we don't, especially the way our school is structured. We come to the co-op on Monday to Thursday, and then our students homeschool on Friday. So they're actually off on Friday. So we don't want parents to bring two siblings here and then have to bring Monday to Thursday and then they're off on Friday and then a sibling to one of the other schools that has to go Monday to Friday. It's heartbreaking. So we really try to keep our families together. But in doing so, some of our classes have gone up to be able to bring on the entire family, if that makes sense.
No, that makes perfect sense. And I love the fact because it gives families an opportunity to plan and
Mhm.
know how to look at that. Um, and I know that when we were in Florida or when we were in California, we were talking about, the possibility of helping others in other areas expand the program. And has anything happened with that, or is it a matter of you'd be willing to answer questions if people had an idea? Or tell me a little bit about your thoughts on that.
So every surrounding county has reached out and said, how did you get this started? What did you do? And it's just one of those things. Myself and Tara and Amy, the other two owners, this is our first love. So this is where our children are. So
Yes.
ultimately, we want this to be the best for our children. So to
Yes.
step away and start this in another county or community, we would be leaving our first love.
Right.
And so that
Right.
part is hard. We try to answer questions, when we hear from different people. But this is our first love. And this is, where we do feel like, we joke it's not perfect, but it is so close for us that we dearly love the way we get to educate our children. And so to leave it would be really hard. But I do feel like, when people email or Facebook or so many other different ways call, we do try to answer questions. So that's
I
just
love it. I know what you're saying about the first love. When I started the program at the private school, I wanted a functional learning program. My child, my oldest, has special needs, and I needed him to have a quality education, educated in a Christian environment with typical developing peers, but I needed him to have a functional learning program. And so that's what I was looking for, and it didn't exist.
Mhm.
And I couldn't get anything more than one classroom, but I was like,
Mhm.
I'll take it. I'll take a broom closet. I don't care.
Yeah.
But it was my first love. And my husband said that. He said, you wouldn't be happy with anyone else. You wouldn't be happy going away. And
Mhm.
I was so, it wasn't perfect. Like you
Mhm.
said, it wasn't perfect, but it was perfect for him. It
That's
was
right.
perfect for the individuals that came along
Mhm.
alongside him, that how many we were able to fit into that one classroom. And so I think it's important for parents to realize that even when you don't feel equipped,
Mhm.
that you may not be able to join this, but you may be able to create something that is perfect for your child. Um,
Absolutely.
and to ask questions, to, I always say, go beat the bushes. You just never know what's going to fly out of there.
Yeah.
Gather ideas from different things. And I would talk to teachers. I would talk to people like
Mhm.
yourself that were educators that had a heart for all children and
Mhm.
say, here's my idea. How can I make this work?
That's
And as
right.
one mom to another, I think it's important to realize, I wasn't able to share that idea that I had with other schools until my children all graduated. I
That's
had to
right.
wait. I
Mhm.
answered questions. I went and spoke at different events. But as far as being able to go and model it, teach somebody else how to do it, I had to wait until my children were done
Yeah.
because I had to honor that first love and that mama calling.
That's
So
right.
I want to encourage those around you, not only
Mhm.
in Florida, but in other states, because we're both moms, and I
Mhm.
know Tara and Amy, and
Yep.
um, all four of us talking about all the things with all the kids and all the activities.
That's
But I
right.
want to encourage moms to listen to their heartbeat, to listen
Absolutely.
to, that nagging feeling.
Mhm.
Um, it's more than just a feeling. It's
Mhm.
probably a God speak into you. Um, and also to be willing
That's
to share that, because oftentimes you probably found this. And I always tell people, when I sit there with my hand open like this, God tends to overflow it, just
Mhm.
absolutely overflow it. But when I sit there clenching my pearls, clenching what I want for myself,
Mhm.
I can't, I don't usually find the answer to it. And that is what happened to me with creating that for my son is I was like, whatever would work for him, I'm certain that there's others out there. And
Right.
the three of you have seen this come to fruition because of school choice, because
Mhm.
of the opportunities within your states, and
Mhm.
because of your willingness to hear the call and do what is right for your children. So I want to encourage other parents to consider what could be possible in their states,
Mhm.
what types of programs might answer the call for their children, and to reach out, not to be afraid. They can go to Katie.wilford.bccc at gmail.com, or they can go to Ask Moms at gmail.com, or I'm sorry, at federationforchildren.org. Sorry, I'm confusing all my emails. But ask mom at federationforchildren.org and ask the questions.
Mhm.
Because if nothing else, those moms can get ideas, get the fear moved aside, and perhaps start a school choice program in their area.
Mhm. Absolutely.
Is there anything else that you'd like to add, either from you or maybe from Amy or Tara, that you guys just want to make sure that moms know as they're on this journey?
Mm, I think get a good group around you. We were so blessed that it was the three of us. So really, we were able to feed off each other. The encouragement was able to feed off each other. But even when we went through hard times, I've always said God knew what He was doing when He brought the three of us together, because it has truly taken all three of us. Some of us may be on the high some days, some of us may be on the low blows, but we can come back together. And I'm so
Yeah.
thankful for them because honestly, it was hard. It is hard work. I can't say, it wasn't. It was a cupcake walk like you talked about earlier. Starting a co-op was no easy feat. But I'm so thankful for that we had the three of us. So get a good group around you. I always say all the time, like the Lord brought us together. The three of us have different strengths, but they work. And it was different pieces. God, honestly, even in our prior jobs, there was different things that we had done that He was aligning our journey to set us up for this. And so there was different things that Tara and I had done. There was different things Amy had done, but the way He brought us together in our expertise, it was all in different areas. But God was aligning that journey all along. So I think if a mom has that feeling on her heart, rally your people, get your people, start talking. It was the three of us having those conversations. Like, I think this is what the Lord's telling me. They said, "Oh my gosh, like me too. We've got to do this." And there was a bigger group in the beginning, but we were, the three that kind of pressed forward and said, we're not going to let fear stop us. So get your moms together, rally together, and it is hard, but having a group and having somebody to lean on, I definitely would recommend.
That's amazing. I had forgotten about that. It's been so many years since I did that on my own. But yeah, I was sent another mom who actually had a daughter with Down syndrome, and Donna came alongside, and she was my Erin.
Mhm.
She came alongside, and I remember I was downstairs. We had started used clothing room because we had uniforms at the school, and we had started a used clothing room because we thought this would be a fabulous job preparation.
Yeah.
Getting ready. The kids could operate the used clothing room, and I was down there, and I mean, all the parents were there to get all the uniforms, but I didn't have my office ready, and I didn't have everything ready for the next day when school was going to start. And while I was down there with the students, because it was all before school started, and I was teaching them to get ready, and I'm running this chaotic, startup situation. She went upstairs and she put my whole office together and got all the things that I had, decorated it, put it together, she was there greeting folks as they came in and just stopping by, making sure their kids were situated. And I remember just being physically exhausted. And I went up there and she's like, don't you worry, we're doing this together. And she proofed all of the curriculum changes and all the things. So that is such good advice, Katie. And you actually reminded me of that, of how important it is to have your, I used to always call her my sidekick, have your sidekicks, have your errands next to you so that you can work in tandem and build each other's strengths and weaknesses together, balance it out like a teeter-totter. So I thank you so much for coming in and sharing about your co-op and how it fostered out of your heart's desire and what the Lord had called on your heart, and then how school choice and the scholarship opportunities within your state helped make that possible. And think about the hundreds and hundreds of students, not only in your realm, that have and will benefit from this, but also the thousands and tens of thousands of students across our nation who could potentially benefit because one mom got together with two other moms and decided to make it her mission.
Absolutely.
Kate, thank you for joining me this
Thank
episode.
you.
Thank you so much. And I look forward to having you back, and hopefully we could have the trio back and we could ask really hard questions. So
Let's do it.
I love it. All right. Thank you so much for coming. We'll see you guys later. Thanks for tuning in.
Thank you.